Hello, and welcome to Makerspace Podcast. My name is Ray Craggy.
And I'm Ian Charnas.
And today we'll be talking about maintenance tasks.
Maintenance!
Yes, these are the things that you need to do in order to keep your space working day after day for every user who walks in the door. And we thought we'd start off with a bit of a story. Ian, what do we mean when we talk about maintenance?
I've got a story for you. Take yourself back all the way to 2011. Let the cool waves of a time warp wash over you. I'm there in the basement of an engineering building at the campus of Case Western Reserve University. We've just started our new makerspace, the ThinkBox, and I'm there trying to get things done at the same time that we're giving tours, at the same time that I'm offering trainings, at the same time that I'm trying to select and install new equipment. We also have to do routine maintenance tasks, and one of the most simple tasks, or so I thought, was going to be to get my student workers to change the paper towel roll when it's empty. So we have a paper towel roll, it's over by our slop sink, and if the paper towel roll is out of paper, then you change it. So it sounds simple, right? You just make a whiteboard or an organizational chart, you make a checklist for starting tasks, some way to cue the student workers that it's time to change the paper towel roll, right? I thought so. I was wrong. What happens is the student workers come up and they say, hey, I can't figure out how to get the paper towel dispenser to open. And in fact, it is a tricky little thing. You need a particular key. It's in our key cabinet, and the student workers don't know that. Or if you can't find the key, you need to get 2 flat blade screwdrivers. And sure as you can imagine, we lost the key pretty near immediately. And we had to go get 2 flat blade screwdrivers to open this thing up. Once you've opened it up, it's pretty easy to see the paper towel roll or the tube if it's empty, but the serpentine path that the paper towel follows is not obvious to anybody. I don't know who designs these things, but there's no indication visually, graphically, iconography about how to feed this paper towel roll through the machine so that it'll catch and you'll get paper towels fed to you as you go in there. Ultimately, we realized that we had to script this out. Having my day interrupted for 10 minutes every single time the paper towel roll had to be replaced was not sustainable. What I wanted to have happen was for these tasks to happen, from my perspective, automatically. I didn't want to ever have to tell anybody how to open the dispenser. I didn't ever want to have to show anybody how to feed this through. I didn't want to have to describe where the key was or how to open it. None of that. I want this to happen automatically. I never want to talk about it or think about it again because it's a task that others can do, and I have more important things that I need to be focusing on. That is the core of the maintenance system that we're going to be talking about today. For this part, Ray and I want to play a little game here. We're going to go back and forth and say one of the maintenance tasks that we do and see who runs out of maintenance tasks.
Runs out first.
So I'll start off. Each and every day, we clean the lenses on the laser cutters.
Each and every day we put up a board full of the tours and events that are being held in our space.
Once a month, we test the pH level in the lye bath, which we affectionately call the cleaning station.
Once a year, we have to empty the water jet cutter.
Ooh, yeah, empty the garnet from the water jet cutter.
Yep.
Once a year, we have to schedule for our water jet cutter company to come out and do the yearly maintenance, including the high-pressure pump rebuild.
Once a month, we have to clean off our community board so out-of-date postings don't clutter it up.
Mm-hmm. As an opening task, we... I think you won.
I didn't even get to handling voicemails or packages or anything like that.
Sweeping up the floors.
Taking inventories.
Everything that you do on a regular basis, or everything, rather, that you want your student workers to do on a regular basis, or volunteers, so that you can focus on things that are more important. That's what maintenance is.
One of the secrets that we found is it's not just about doing maintenance on your equipment. It's about doing maintenance on your space. Preventative machine maintenance, if you're doing that, you're in the top tier of makerspaces. But the fact of the matter is, you can also apply these principles of maintenance to inventory and purchasing and cleaning and resetting your space in preparation for events.
There's 3 points we're going to be going over today. This is a 3-point plan for maintenance perfection. Script, track, and do. Script, track, and do. Script it out, track who did it, and do it.
First, we script things out. We script them out so that we can actually do them, so we don't have to make any decisions in the moment or rediscover what we need to do. That also helps us get, student workers and other people we're working with on the same page. The next thing we do is we track it. So we track our maintenance so that nothing falls through. Nothing feels worse than looking up and realizing that some critical bit of maintenance that needed to get done didn't. Finally, we do the tasks and we iterate on them. We are constantly improving our maintenance system so that it is always meeting our needs. And that means paying attention to what happens as we do the tasks and keeping in mind what it is we've learned each and every time so that we can apply it to the next iteration.
So we've got a 3-step system: script, track, and do. And we're going to start off with script. Script your recurring responsibilities so that your student workers, your volunteers, your staff, yourself will actually do them. And we're talking a real script, like a script for a movie or a play or a musical. I think the best way to describe it and imagine it is to jump right in and see a real live working example of what we're talking about. We're going to make a link to this document available in our show notes. It's our document that details the maintenance task of checking the pH of the lye bath. We have a lye bath for some of our high-end FDM 3D printers. The purpose, of course, of the lye bath is to clean off the support material from the printed models before we hand them back to our users. And over time, the support material clogs up the lye bath by just changing its pH. So over time, the lye bath becomes less and less effective as the pH gets more and more towards neutral. It's supposed to be basic or alkali. So I'm looking at this document. Maybe by now you've pulled up the same thing. Up at the top, it says lye bath, checking the pH, student workers only. And let's go through these steps. In step 1, we've got a picture of the storage area where the lye strips are kept, and it says, where the pH strips are kept. And step 1 says grab a pH strip. This is a litmus strip, of course, from the 3D printing supplies rack. And we've got a picture right there of the 3D printing supplies rack, so there can be no confusion as to where you get your litmus strips. Step 2, grab a strip from the box. And there's a picture. There's a picture right there. The strip should be a goldenrod color that matches the 7 or neutral indicator on the indicator table, right? So then there's a picture right then and there so you can see clearly what we're talking about. Step 3, put on gloves and goggles. Step 3, safety third. No, it says safety first. Put on gloves and goggles. The goggles are located on the left side of the lye bath, and there's a picture of where they are, and there's a picture of a student worker with the gloves and the goggles on, just to reinforce how important that is. Step 4, it says how to turn the bath off. Step 5 says how to open the lid and stick in your litmus test. Step 6 says how to compare the color against the indicator to see what pH your bath is at. Step 7 tells you exactly where and how to discard your used strip. And step 8 indicates that you should clean up any spilled solution with a sponge and water. This takes you from start to finish through each and every one of the critical steps that you need to really do this task. We have honed this maintenance task over time, just like we have with all of our others, so that a student worker who is fresh and brand new on the job can complete this from start to finish without bothering us at all, without asking us any questions. They operate entirely on their own.
And so what is this document that we're looking at? It's a canonical version of the task that is stored someplace where everyone knows it exists and can easily refer to it.
Ray, what do we mean by canonical version of the task? Can't I just send you a Word doc, and then if you see anything that needs to be changed, you can change it? And if I see anything that needs to be changed, I can change it, and all 64 of our student workers can be doing that?
No, you can't do that. No, you have to
That's
have
the stuff of our nightmares.
one version of the task.
That's okay, canonical, one version.
One version. So that is the one way, the one correct way to do this task. All right, so we've talked about scripting out your tasks, right? So putting all those things in order so you don't have to stop your momentum or lose your momentum as you're trying to keep your makerspace moving. The next step in our 3-step process is to track your maintenance. You need to make sure that you can see everything going on, or as much as possible, so that you can see progress or the lack thereof, so you know when things are being done or not being done. There are many ways to do this. We've actually done this in 2 ways. We started off with a whiteboard that had a table, and on the left-hand side, each of the rows was a different task, and each column was the day, week, or month that the task needed to be done. So what we did was we first decided what was the appropriate interval for each of these tasks. How often do we actually need to test the pH of the lye bath? Well, we decided that that was something that needed to happen maybe monthly. That is enough time for us to use the lye bath and then start to insert ourselves into the process and say, okay, is there something we need to do here? The most common maintenance tasks we do are the opening tasks and the closing tasks, which we do at the beginning and end of our workday. But we also have weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly tasks that we track. Once you've decided on those intervals, it's time to sort of lay it out. So we put it on the board in each space, each row, in each column. The student workers and staff had a place to put their initials to indicate that they had done the task at the appropriate interval. And so what did that mean? It meant that we had a physical whiteboard up in the space that everyone could check to see what had been done and what still needed to be done. As time has gone on, we found that we have so many maintenance tasks, we've changed that process a little bit. So we have sort of a maintenance queue where we automate the process and make sure that our maintenance tasks appear when it's time for them to be done, not before and not after. And that's because we've just got so many, it's easier now to see what's left in the queue than it is to scan a whiteboard of 50 or 60 items for empty spaces. So we use Trello to track our work since it gives us the tools to automate much of this process.
That's Trello, Trello. Trello is an online organizational tool that we use to implement a lot of the systems we talk about on Makerspace Podcast. You can check this app out at Trello.com, and you can also see how we use it to track our maintenance tasks by visiting the Makerspace Podcast YouTube channel and finding our video on task management, where we'll take you step by step through setting up your own Trello board for managing tasks, including, of course, maintenance tasks.
As you'll see in our YouTube video, we've set up our Trello board so that these maintenance tasks appear automatically in our maintenance queue, only when they need to get done. And at a glance, we can see what has been done and what still needs to be done, so that the job of the Makerspace manager isn't to do the tasks, but to delegate and direct the tasks to your team.
Script, track, and do. So you're scripting your responsibilities. It could be in a Google Doc. It could be in some other canonical system where you only have one active copy and everybody has access to that one single active copy. You're tracking your maintenance. You've got an organizational whiteboard. You've got an online organizational app. We happen to like Trello quite a bit. And now it's time to actually, do the work. It's also an important part of this process. And much like any great organization, you're going to look at not just doing the work and measuring that you've done the work, but looking at how you can improve that process over time. Honda was famous for this. They measured the output of their employees not just in terms of how many widgets they built, but how they improved their jobs was part of their own employee assessment. So we know the details change. We know that the location of the litmus strips or the pH strips is going to change over time. How the bin is labeled might change over time. The location of the lye bath, the exact brand and make and model, how you open it, things change over time, and we adapt. So you absolutely must keep that canonical version of your script up to date each and every time that you change the equipment, change the environment, change the supplies. Not only that, even if the equipment and the supplies stay the same, what did you learn about doing the task the very first time and the second time and the third time that will help improve the task the next time? Are there any time-saving features you could implement? You can go back and redo that script. Did a student worker make a mistake that you could avoid in the future by redoing that script? Did the student worker come and ask you a question and take up your precious time, your most valuable commodity? Do you want to change the script so that that doesn't happen again? Revise, revise, revise. That's the name of the game when you're actually doing the work. Not only does it improve the process and you get a greater work output, but it's more motivational for your student workers, your staff, and for yourself to look at this repetitive, mundane work. I mean, thousands of days in a row, we clean the laser cutter optics. Thousands of days in a row, we sweep the floor. And so when we can look at our tasks not just as these mundane tasks that we have to do each and every day or week or month, but as a living system, and our job is to improve that system, that is a more exciting job to have. When you can change your environment, change the way you do things, that is motivational by any of the motivational frameworks out there that they teach in an MBA program. So as you're doing the tasks, you're iterating on them and you're improving your process. We have one more tip to offer on this topic of how to actually do the tasks, and that is the big temptation that you will feel as a beginning manager. The temptation is to walk your student workers, your staff, or your volunteers through this script that you've written. That is not the idea. The idea is that you write this script, and it's so good. Eventually, it will become so good that a brand new, first day, totally fresh, green around the ears person can come in and follow your carefully prepared script on measuring the pH in the lye bath or cleaning the optics on the laser cutter or whatever it is. They can get through that without bothering you. And the only way to get to that point is to let them stumble along the way. Let them come and ask you questions, and when they do, revise the script. Let them make mistakes, and when they do, revise the script. You need them to be your real-life test to evaluate the efficiency, the efficacy of your script. You need to let them go through it on their own. Don't walk them through the steps and answer their questions along the way, or you won't get that multiplier of your time. You won't get the return from your several-hour investment of thousands of hours of work output performed by others in your organization. This is the single benefit of large organizations, and if you succumb to the temptation to walk your people through these steps, then you will never reap that reward. So beware the temptation to walk your staff through each step.
So here at Makerspace Podcast, that's how we deal with maintenance. First, we script it out. We script out our recurring responsibilities that we'll actually do them, and we'll do them the right way each and every time. Next, we track our maintenance tasks so that nothing falls through the cracks. And finally, we do the tasks, and as we do them, we're always iterating, always improving, always collecting data so that we can get a multiplying effect on our efforts. So script, track, and do. That's the Makerspace Podcast way, right, Ian?
That's right, Ray. And the reason we made a podcast just about maintenance is because we believe that this is a fundamental piece of the Makerspace management framework that you absolutely positively need in order to have a successful space. You want thousands of people streaming in through your doors each and every month, quarter, semester, or year. And the way that you get to that is by having strong systems so that you, as the manager, can be doing those rare and valuable things that only you can be doing, and your staff, your student workers, your volunteers can be fully activated in running the space. So when you have a fully functioning maintenance system, you can imagine a world where things are happening automatically without you needing to be there. This is a fundamental building block to all that you'll do as a Makerspace manager, and it was worth spending some time discussing. That's all for today. Tune in next time for more Makerspace management tips. Until then, I'm Ian Charnas.
And I'm Ray Craggy, and this has been Makerspace Podcast. See you next time.
If you find this show valuable, please take 60 seconds and subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes or YouTube. If you can raise the visibility of Makerspace Podcast, it helps people find this show and join the conversation. Finally, if you know someone who is building or running a makerspace or thinking about it, consider sharing this with them.
You can find us online at makerspacepodcast.com or send us an email with your questions and feedback to info@makerspacepodcast.com. Special thanks to Kate Hart for our theme music.